So for the past few years, my company has been focusing on generating new clients through taking sales calls. We're selling our coaching, we're selling our courses, and we've generated well over $20 million in sales on the phone. And there are 3 big objections that you can face on the phone when you're trying to get the yes and not the no. And I'm going to share with you in today's video what they are and how to overcome them. You are on the phone. You're taking some calls. If you've got your marketing to that point now where you're actually getting calls coming in and you're feeling frustrated. You're feeling frustrated because maybe 2 out of every 10 people you speak to are saying yes and becoming a client, and 8 out of 10 are saying no. And you're not happy with that conversion percentage. You're not sure what else you could be doing. You're following all the sales training. You've got your script out in front of you, yet you're still getting far more no's than you are yeses. And I want to help you overcome this problem, because you really can get up to 30, 40, 50, even 60% conversion numbers if you understand some of the stuff I'm going to share with you in today's video. Now, I want to set a quick bit of context because it really is important. For you to close on the phone and increase your closing percentage does not come down to one thing. If you're currently converting at 20% on the phone, you are not going to get to 60% by changing one thing. This video is about one thing. So you might say, well, John, that doesn't sound very attractive. It's because you need to implement what I'm sharing with you in this video, and there'll be other stuff along the way. And the compounding effect of bringing it all together is your conversions are going to go through the roof. That being said, of all the little things that you could be doing to increase your conversion percentage, what I'm going to share with you in today's video, I think is a pretty big contributing factor to that. In fact, before we get into the 3 biggest objections, you also need to understand pre-qualification for getting people on the phone. Many of you will be speaking to people that actually you have no hope of closing because they were the wrong type of person to be on the phone with you in the first place. You just didn't know how to pre-qualify them. There's a video up here somewhere that you can click on that I uploaded to the channel where I talk about that, how to make sure you're only getting the right people on the phone that you have the greatest chance of success with. So that being said, let's get into these 3 biggest sales objections and then how to overcome them. I'm going to share with you what they are, then we're going to dive in a bit deeper. The first one is money, second is fear, and the third one is trust. And if you want to follow along with what I'm going to be sharing with you today, I've actually got a free resource for you that sums all of this up with instructions of how to handle each one. So there's a link in the description box or the top comment. You can go ahead and click on that, and it's my free gift to you. Just go ahead and grab it right now, and then you can follow along with what we're talking about. So let's dive into the first one. The first one is the money objection, okay? This is where you get to the end of the sales call, and the excuse that you get for why someone is not going to join your coaching is because they don't have the money, right? Now, there are 2 possible reasons that this is coming up, and it's very, very important that you identify which one it is. They're either telling you they don't have any money because that is an easier excuse than explaining to you the real reason why they don't want to join. And it was most likely that they don't actually feel sold on your program. They don't want to tell you that. It's just easier to say, that's a bit too expensive. Yeah, I don't really have that money. You know, that's too much for me, right? That's the first potential reason. The second reason is the legit one. The second reason is they actually don't have any money. They really want to do your coaching. They really want to join your program, but they genuinely do not have the funds. Now, you need to identify which of those 2 it is. To identify if it's the first option, it should actually be happening earlier on in the phone call. It shouldn't be that you wait right up until you reveal the price to then start quizzing them on their finances. That's the wrong order. It should have been drip fed throughout the entire call. When you're asking them about their pain for the situation that they're in, or why they're wanting change, or other things they've invested in, or how much capital do they have available to invest in their business if it's a business offer. These are things you should be asking earlier on in the call and making note of. You should also be pre-qualifying someone before you ever even make an offer and tell them the price. You should be getting them on a scale of 1 to 10 as to how excited they feel about the offer and how good it feels for them and how much of a good fit it is for them. And you should also be qualifying them based on their ability to actually fund your program before they even know how much it is. Now, that's not as simple as just saying, do you have $10,000 lying around? You've got to get a bit more strategic with the questions that you're asking, but you really should have a very good indication of a person's financial situation before you make an offer and before you tell them the price. And if you've identified that they don't have the funds, if you've identified that they're in a really tricky financial situation, then those are the people you would not offer to. Or you would offer to them in a very specific way where you're saying, look, James, can I be honest with you? And he says yes. And you say, I would love to be able to offer you my program right now, but based on your situation, I'm wondering whether my fees are just going to be a little bit too pricey for you, whether this is not going to be the best option for you, right now. What do you think? Right? And so that's going to open up that dialogue, open up that conversation, and you're either going to get a surprise, like, oh, actually, no, everything I said earlier, that's my current situation, but actually I've got this, lump sum in savings that I've been waiting to use for something important, and this sounds like that thing. So you've got to figure that out earlier on in the call. What I'm going to say next is quite controversial. The second option is that they legit don't have the money. And the controversial part is that my advice to you is let those people go. Many sales trainers would say, regardless of how much they've got, push for the sale, do everything you can, squeeze them like a lemon, and get any money from them that you can. That is a terrible business practice. I am not for that. I don't agree with that type of sales training. If you have got someone to a point in a sales call where everything's sounding good, but they just genuinely don't have the money, and you've asked enough questions now to determine that that is the real reason, then let them off the phone. Don't push them to join your coaching. And I believe by operating like that, you'll find that it'll come back to you in other ways. Your relaxed nature for the sale at that point in other areas will exude confidence for your offer, and other people will join in greater measure. Hey, real quick, at this point, if you're enjoying this content, do me a favor, hit the like button. It really helps me, helps the channel, and don't forget to subscribe as well. So that's money. The second one is fear. And fear can come in lots of different ways, okay? And we've called this an objection because it really is. Someone's going to be giving you a reason why they can't join your program, but the real reason is that they're scared, they're nervous, and they're fearful. So by understanding this, you need to know that it's actually better for you to coach them through their fear than let them off the phone. Think about this. If you've created this environment on the phone call where they like the sound of you, you like the sound of them, they need this solution, they're desperate for it, but you succumb and say, yeah, no problem, have a think about it, get back to me next week. What's most likely going to happen is that person is going to get off the phone, they're going to come out of that environment where they're realizing they need this, they're going to go back to normal life, distractions get in their way, negative voices have a part to play, and they get cold feet and they don't get back in touch with you. Now the sad part is that may have been a person that you genuinely could have transformed their life, that your coaching, your offer could really have helped them, but you let them go. You let them go because they were nervous and they were fearful. So for you on the phone, you need to be an advisor. You need to be a coach. You need to coach them through their fear. You need to talk them through it. You need to ask them the right questions. And a lot of this stuff that I'm mentioning right now, we've got on that free report that is in the description box in the top comment, where I talk about what to do and what to say when the fear objection shows itself. But this is the important thing to realize. When these fear objections come up, when there's a reason coming up that they can't move forward, that is not for any logistical reason, it's just, I'm panicking, the best thing you can do in that moment is help them to lean back in and pull them across the finish line. The third one is trust. And this is becoming a bigger and bigger reason why people don't move forward on coaching programs right now, particularly on the phone, because they've been burnt before. They've tried other stuff before. Perhaps they can't find anything about you online. There's no information on Google. This was a conversation that came up with a client of mine, Gareth, just the other day, so it's fresh in my mind. So I'm going to talk you through this example. There's quite a number of things that we could do to handle the lack of trust objection, but I'm going to focus on one that I think will help you. Okay, if you're new to this game, if you're a new coach, then chances are you don't have a big presence on Google, right? You don't have an authoritative website that ranks at the top of Google. You don't have a bunch of content that's ranking for you. You haven't got a bunch of PR. You haven't got articles in top tier publications. So maybe if someone Googles your name and there's not really a great deal to find. This can be a stumbling block for some people to not get into your coaching program, right? They're on the phone with you and they say, okay, it's sounding good, but I'm confused. I'm not seeing much about you on Google. This is all a little bit, are you legit? Is this a scam? Right? Here's how to handle that. Again, much like most objections, you want to handle it before it comes up. You want to justify why you don't have much information about you on Google before they think of that as a potential objection. So here's how you do it. At some point in the script, you're going to ask them a question that gives you the opportunity to say something that you want to say. In the business world, I'm going to say something like, so outside of, paid advertising, James, have you tried anything else? Have you tried, I don't know, Google SEO? Have you tried social media marketing? Have you tried, getting any kind of PR? I'm not necessarily a fan of that, but I'm just wondering if, that's something that you've tried. Now, I've strategically put in there, I'm not much of a fan of that, so that I can come back to that later and address that in greater detail, but I've planted a seed. So now James is most likely going to say, I've tried to get my website ranking, but that's not working, and I've tried to get a bit of, PR, but, nothing's really taken off, and, it's been a bit of a slog. Now, this is my opportunity to say something to the extent of, okay, makes sense. I've taken note of that. And to be honest, James, just so you know, that is hard. And it takes a lot of time to get stuff positioned on Google. In fact, take me as an example. I started to build a website a couple of years ago, and I was thinking that I needed to do some big branding pieces and get some PR. And before I knew it, I turned some ads on into a sales funnel, and I started getting more calls than I could handle. And then we had a wait list to become a client. So for me, in my situation, you won't find much about me on Google because I haven't needed to. I've been focusing on paid ads and webinars, the stuff that, we're here to talk about on the call today. Boom. The call moves on. So now, before you make an offer later on in the call, before you invite them in, before all these objections are now going to fill their head and reasons why they shouldn't move forward, the trust, because there's nothing much about you on Google to find, is not one that's going to come into their head because you pre-handled it. A pre-handled objection is so much more powerful than having a really good reply to an objection that is now present in the moment. So those are the 3 biggest objections and how to approach them and how to overcome them. If you want to follow along in greater detail and get my free report that breaks it all down, then click the link in the description box or the top comment. It's my free gift to you. Just tell me where to send it. And don't forget to watch that other video I told you about. It's popping up right here, how to pre-qualify people before you ever get them on the phone. You'll have a much greater chance at converting them irrespective of how the conversation goes. So check that one out. I appreciate you watching this video, and I'll see you in the future.